Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the differences between drop-down, combo box, and list box. So one of the first things that I want to look at is what exactly is the difference, right? Because one of my good friends, Matt, has actually given this quote over here that if I had $1 for every time someone on the forums called a combo box a drop-down, he'd be a rich man. Now I know that's just a joke. He's not being rude over there, but he does have a point, because many times we do get too confused between the two, at least the drop downs and the combo box, and sometimes drop downs get confused with the list box over there. So in this one over here, I'm at least going to view all three of them side by side, so you get a thorough understanding of what the three are, what are their differences, what are their shortcomings over there too, because one of them actually does, and then I'll just show you an example of some workarounds that you can do. So, like I said, I'll show you how you can add items. I'll also show you how you can edit items, and basically you'll have a good understanding of what the difference is. Now, if you want to go into more deep dive, like how I really go into combo boxes and do some really good search and everything, I've put some examples in the description below, and then you can, there's some great videos Shane has done, so I've put his links down over there as well. But this is actually a good place to start. And also a good place to understand the differences between all of them. All right, so enough with the talking, let's jump into the demo. All right, so what I'm going to do is first go ahead and get out of my slide deck and go straight into Power Apps. And in my Power Apps over here, as you can see, I'm in a studio, and this is a desktop version of the studio. So first and foremost, let's just go ahead and drop these controls and just see the differences. All right, so over here I come to the insert, and over here on input there's three of them. There is the drop down over here, right there. There is also the combo box right there, and finally we've got the list box right there. So in one view, you get to see all of them over here. And one of the things which people get confused a lot over here is with the drop down and with the combo box, because all said and done, they almost look the same. In fact, what I've seen is that if you come over here to the drop down, and if you go ahead and disable the search altogether, which I'll show you in a second, come over here to the settings, go to, where are more options? First is select the select multiple. You can go ahead and change that, because right now I do have the option to select multiple. If I go ahead and change that to say false, that almost makes it like the drop down over here, because then you can only select one. And then you also have the option to come over here to even go and select the is searchable, change the is searchable to false. And the moment I do that, you see that find items disappears. And it almost looks the same. So I completely agree that the drop down and the combo box can almost look the same. So if that does confuse you, and if there is that confusion in the forums as well, I completely get it, because it almost is the same. But let me actually show you what the differences are, right? So to really do that, what I've done is in my data sources, I went ahead and put in a static data over here. In all my other videos, you must have seen how I go ahead and do states and then city and so on and so forth. That's the same data over here. So I'm going to come over here to first the drop down, and I'm going to put in states, and that's the data over here. And then I've gone ahead and picked in what's called as a state long, because that just puts in the full one. So I live in North Carolina, so the state long is North Carolina. The state short would be just NC. So that's basically the difference. All right, so that's what it looks like over here in the drop down. I come to combo box, and I can do the same thing over here. Do the states, and then in the fields, I've also gone ahead and put in state long and state short. And in the searchable also, I've done the state. So that's one big difference over there, right? Because in the combo box, I've got this option over here to do the search as well. In the Alabama, which in the drop down over here, see, I don't have that functionality, because Dropdown doesn't give you that functionality to do the search over there. Now there's workarounds for that, but again, remember, this is just a quick overview, side-by-side comparison over here. So again, if I go ahead and look at the two, they almost look the same over here. So keep that in mind, because there's differences between the two as well, good solid differences. And you need to know all of that before you make the decision as to which one of these controls I'm going to use. Finally, let's look at the list one over here. I'm going to do the same thing. In the items, I'll pick the states over here. Views are state long. And as you can see now, they are over here. So if I go ahead and now play it, you can see I've got this option and functionality. I can go ahead and do this. I get the functionality to do multiple selections. And over here, same thing, option to do multiple selections over here. So now that you see all of them side by side, you can actually see the main comparison, right? The one on the left over there is the drop down. I can only select one at a time, and it looks like a drop down. The one in middle, it is the combo box. Almost looks like a drop down, but I can do multiple selections over there, right? And then on the right, again, I have the common features between the combo box and the list box over there is I can do multiple selections. But then in the list box over there, I can see the selections, which I've already done over there, and that's the difference. I can see them here, but in the combo box, I can only see how many I've selected. So if I actually did say just 2, it shows you that much over there. But if I did, usually 3 is that magic number, but it's not just that how many you've selected, it could also be the size of the text over there, so keep that in mind. But usually 3 is that number, is that if I have selected 3, then the number of items show up, not actually the text that you selected. So kind of keep that in mind over there. All right, so for those people who will say that, you know what, the list actually looks pretty good because it shows me how many I've selected and also shows what I selected, kind of don't get too attracted to that, because I'm going to now show you some of the things that it doesn't do very well. Also, everything that I'm going to show you about that is being verified by the actual product group. So I got confirmation from them that everything I'm showing over here, specifically on that list one, is in fact how it is built by design. So keep that in mind, all right? So now that I've shown you what these things are, I'm going to take you to some examples of how I've actually used it. So let me just walk you through the example, because this is very simple. It is exactly what you see over here. And just to make it easier, I've shown you that this is a drop down, just like the one we made. This is a combo box, a list box. It's got the exact same data sources that I just showed you. But what I've done is I'm actually going ahead and saving it. And for the sake of this saving, it's a very simple collect function that I've done over here. And I think I'm not even saving it to a backend data source. I'm just temporarily saving it to a collection. And that's what I've done is I'm doing a collect, and I've gone ahead and named in drop down, combo box, add, and then list, and just whatever is the selections that I've done over here, I'm just saving it. So okay, very simple. This over here is not fancy at all. So don't get too concerned about, oh, Daniel's not sharing that, did I miss something? No, this is the easy part. What it does and how it works is the key things that I want to focus on. Okay, so let's go ahead and select something. So I'm going to go and just arbitrarily select, say, Massachusetts over here. I'll actually try to maintain some consistency. So I'll do Maryland, Massachusetts, and Michigan. And let's do the same thing over here. Maryland, Massachusetts, come on, and Michigan. So let's pause. We'll go ahead and save that first so we have all this information. And then let's just pause over here for a minute. Now, first question somebody will ask is, hey, Daniel, how did you get these done over there? Good question. You've actually must have seen me done this in a few other videos, and that is my favorite, concat. Remember what I said? I said concat, not concatenate. I said concat. And this is a very simple formula over there, is that what you do is you take whatever you select over here in the combo box, selected items, and then you go ahead and say that from that select items, I just want to take the state long, and then concatenate them with a comma over there. So that's basically the formula that I'm adding over here. This just helps me to see what I've selected over here, and for the sake of this demo, it also helps for you to see. So that's a formula over there. I've done the exact same thing over here as well, done the concat over here. So now, this is the similarity between the two, right? The combo box and then the list box over here. The exact concat formula works the exact same way for both of them. So again, similarities over there. Now, when I go ahead and click on save, I am able to drop that item in the gallery over here, and that's what it is. So in the gallery, let me just show you when I select over here, this is basically just this item that is dropped down in the state long over here. Same things over here. This over here is the this item combo box, and then over here is the this item for the list. All right, it's just simple text over there, nothing fancy. But now here is where you start seeing some differences. So first, actually, I'm going to show you. I went ahead and now even showed you that we went ahead and adding a new items. Now let's take a look at how editing the items works. All right, editing the items is where things get very interesting, and this is where the combo box and the list box really define their differences. So kind of pay attention over here. So for the drop down, it is simple, right? I went ahead and dropped a drop down. It's funny. Again, went ahead and in the list items over here, I've gone ahead and matched it to that data source, which is states. And then over here on the default, I'm doing whatever was selected in this gallery, which is gallery 2. Nothing fancy over here, no magic. It's all gallery 2. Whatever is selected from that drop down gal text. So right here, gal text. That is what I'm selecting over here. So by default, I've gone ahead and whatever was here, that shows up. Simple, nothing complex about drop down. It's as easy as that. In the combo box, things are a little bit more interesting. What combo box, it doesn't like text. The text that we did over here is that, hey, this is the default text that I have. Just go ahead and, this is the text that I have in the gallery. Go ahead and make that as my default. Combo box doesn't like that. In fact, combo box has two very interesting things. First of all, it has default and it has default selected items. So in my example here, you'll see actually I've done nothing in default, but I have done something in the default selected items. So again, remember what I said is that the combo box for its default doesn't like text. It doesn't even like static data over there. What it likes and it loves is the filter function over there. So let's take a look at what I did. So in the filter function, I'm taking still that original data source, which is states, and I'm saying that in states, in its table, in its the column which is state long, whatever are the items in this the selected text over there, go ahead and filter it. And so again, just to recap, I'm still using, I have to use filter function. I'm still using the original data source, but what I've done is I'm telling it that, hey, I don't want you to show all the data source. I just want in that data source, filter it to whatever items is selected over here in the gallery. So this is the key important formula, and this is a very important thing that you need to know. In fact, get that into your head, get it into your normal routine when you're working with showing an existing item back into a combo box. This combo box do not like static data over there. It doesn't like any other way to show it. It really prefers this filter function over here. So kind of keep that in mind and let this get ingrained in you, because this is literally how it works over there. I've seen people struggle in all the mentoring that I do. Right over here is that I'm putting in static data over there, and it's not working. Two mistakes I see. First of all, they put it in default. Don't put it over there. Put it in the default selected items and use this formula. Filter is all that you need to know. Filter, filter, filter. 3 times I'm telling you that. Filter, but in filter, what you do is you take that item from the gallery and then you use the in function. It says that whatever is the selected items, take that and I want you to filter it in the existing data source that you have. So that's how it works. Here, I've just gone ahead and shown you. Same thing is that, hey, I've gone ahead and selected all these items, and I just did that for aesthetic reason, just to show it to you that, hey, for confirmation, the 3 items that you see over here are the exact ones that were selected there. So we took care of drop down, we took care of combo box. Now let's take a look at the list box. So comparison, all right? Over here was the original selection that we did. So I went ahead and selected Maryland, Massachusetts, and Michigan. That's what I selected. I went ahead and saved it too. Other thing is I've actually gone ahead and you can see that in my list box over here, it successfully saved that. But for some reason, it only goes ahead and selects the first one. This is actually by design. And trust me, I have tried combinations of things. I've tried filter, I've tried search, I've done more adding in static text over there using variables and so on and so forth. Finally, I just, as an MVP, I went ahead and reached out to the product group, and then they said, no, Daniel, you did everything right, but this is by design in the list box over here that you can go ahead and do multiple selections, but when you want to display it back in an edit scenario, it only shows you the first one. And what it does is actually only shows you the not just one, but the first one. So remember, over here, the first one we selected was Maryland. So when I come over here, you'll actually see Maryland selected, and that's it. Doesn't show you Massachusetts, doesn't show you Michigan. That's all it shows you over here. Again, this is by design, but remember, this is where things can get confusing, because say I'm now in an edit situation. I say, okay, Massachusetts is good. I need to change Massachusetts to say Louisiana. Over here, same thing. I got to take out Maryland, but I got to go ahead and add, say Arizona. And you say that, okay, this is fine, I don't need to make any changes, and you save it, but you've successfully gone ahead and messed up your data. Because we changed Louisiana, the drop-down, we went ahead and changed combo box, but guess what happened to the list box over here? The list, we went ahead and automatically erased Massachusetts and Michigan. So keep that in mind, that if your list drop-down or list box, if you're planning to use that as only one selection, then you're good. You don't have to worry about that. But if you're planning to use it as multiple selections, then you need to keep that in mind, is that I need to come up with another technique over there. Now, I'm not telling you that, hey, don't use list box. That's a decision that you need to make as a maker or as a designer. What I'm going to show you is, my personal preference is I stick with combo boxes a lot. It just makes it easier for me. However, I do know that there are people out there who absolutely need to stick with using the list box over there. And for you, I have a workaround. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to demonstrate the exact same thing to you, right? Same thing. I'm going to go ahead and now in my drop down, let's pick Delaware. Over here, let's do the same thing, but we'll pick a few more. We'll pick Delaware, Florida, Georgia, and back over here, we'll do the exact same thing. Delaware, Florida, Georgia. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Same thing happens over there, right? And if you've noticed, right here, I've got Delaware, Florida, and Georgia. I've actually got all three of them showing up over here. But let's not stop over here, right? Because this is just view. I'm going to go ahead and edit that. So I'm going to click on now, over here, I can go ahead and change that. I'm going to change that to Connecticut. I'm going to change this one and say, everything is good. I'm just going to take out Georgia. And over here, I'll take out Georgia, but I'm not going to do that. It says, do I need to change the list box? Yes, I'll change it. I'll go ahead and now select to something completely different. Let's go ahead and go crazy and add a few more over here. Shows you what I've selected. I'm doing a save, and now when I did a save, it went ahead and took all the three changes that I did. So the first thing that comes to mind is, Daniel, wow, hashtag mind blown, but how did you do this? Now, I know some of you may have already figured this out, and that's become my new phrase, is that when you're in misery, use a gallery. The other quote I'm coming out is, when you're in agony, use a gallery. I'm interested to hear this from you. So how does that code sit with you? If you like it, go ahead and leave a comment in my, leave a note in my comment. If you don't like it, again, leave a note in my comment. I'm also open to taking recommendations from you. So, when in misery, use a gallery, and that's exactly what I did over here. So let's take a look at what all the plumbing did I do in the back end over here. So this actually is a new screen altogether. Made it exactly look and same, feel the look and same. The top sections all the same over here. Okay, the same controls. Went ahead and added the same concat over here. Went ahead and added the same concat. Save also is the exact same. Saving it to a temporary collection. I just called this collection as a 2 because it's a separate collection altogether. But here is where I've done things a little different. It's a gallery. That's also the same. Galleries are all the same. This item, excuse me, this item. Over here, again, the items for the drop down also same. You got the items pulling in from the same data source. Its default is whatever I selected over here. Same thing for states, which is for the combo box. Nothing different over there. Whatever I went ahead and select, it is still the same data source, which is items. And then in the default over here, it's not default selected. Same thing. I'm just going ahead and using the filter using that same formula. In the filter, that state long, whatever is in the gallery, the states which are in the gallery selected item, go ahead and filter it over there. So same formula I've used over here, this exact same formula. Here is where I made things a little interesting. What I've done is that initially what it shows you is a gallery. That's what it's showing you. See, initially by default it's showing a gallery. So you said, Daniel, how are you doing that change? And that is all thanks to variables. So here on the screen, when the screen's on visible happens, this is the big one that you want to focus on. Is I've gone ahead and I've created a variable, and I'm just saying that hide list box variable, set it to false. That's what I've done. So when you first come in over here, what it does is it only displays the gallery, and that's why you're able to see all the selected items and everything. Next is when it's time for you to edit this one over here, I'm asking you to go ahead and do that. Click on the checkbox right here. And what the checkbox does is on select, right here, on select, it goes ahead and sets that value of that variable to true. The other thing you want to do is on uncheck, you want to go set it back to true as well. Same thing is on check, you want to go ahead and select it back to true over there, because that's what gets things a little confusing over here. So kind of keep that in mind as well. But when I go ahead and do check the box over there, the gallery is no longer displayed, it's no longer visible, but now what you do is you actually get to see the list box. Now, thanks to the beauty of gallery, I went ahead and took out those dividers that you see over there, went ahead and took out the highlighting functionality. So I've made that gallery look exactly as that list box, which means at the end of the day, when you build an app like this, it's just you, the maker, who actually knows that, in that app, it's actually not a list box I'm using, I'm actually using a gallery. But I bet you the end users, they would not know the difference. All they will see is that, hey, this is a control where I get to do multiple selections, and I also get to see those multiple selections every time I select the item in the gallery. Trust me, the end user will not know that difference. The only ones who know about that now will be the makers, and then me, who actually showed you how to do that. So finally, when I go ahead and do that check over here, this is another important thing. And again, it's not difficult. It's the same thing using the concat over here, but I'm referencing that to go ahead and save the data. So watch, this one is actually the edit list label one, and when I do the save, I just do a patch for the sake of this example over here. I could have done a collect as well, a clear collect, but that's what it is. See, I'm going ahead and using that label to save it in that list over here. I'm not using the gallery. I'm just using that label over here because that just makes it a little bit easier. Again, when the time comes for you to go live with this, you can just go and select that. You can go ahead and make it invisible, select that, make it invisible. That's another new code that I'm coming up with is when in doubt, use a label, because anytime I'm in doubt of anything, especially formulas, I go ahead and take that formula and put it in the variable. So that's my new code again. When in doubt, use a label. And then that's how you clear all your doubts. My doubts being, how is that working? Or what exactly is this formula doing? Copy that formula, dump it on the variables text over there, and see what's happening, which is exactly what I did over here. Is I'm seeing, are these selections that I'm making actually showing up over there? So remember my new code, when in doubt, use a label. So just as an overview, this is basically what we were able to achieve. What happened was, initially we had this problem where specifically in the list items, a list box over here, I can do multiple selections all the time, and I can save it. It saves it successfully, but when the time comes to view it, it only shows me one. In fact, we can see that there were 3 that I selected. In fact, you can see when I saved it in the gallery, I had 3 over here, but it only shows me one. And what happens is if I go ahead and now save it, like as if I've done some editing and I save it, you actually lost that data, which means you've corrupted your data over there. So that can be a problem. Workaround I showed you was something like this. In fact, you don't even know what you've done. End users don't know what you've done, but you've actually taken a gallery. When in agony, use a gallery, or when in misery, use a gallery. You've used that gallery, made it look exactly the same as a list box over here. The only change is you're asking the person, hey, do you want to change that list box as well? And when you do, that gallery switches over to an actual list box. You can do the multiple selections that you want over here, and then when you save it, it actually saves it right over there. So hopefully this video of talking about the differences between the drop-down, combo box, and list box was helpful over there. Remember, if you want to deep dive into drop-downs, deep dive into combo boxes, I'll put in more examples down over here in the description. The main focus also over here was, show the differences, because list box sometimes can be misinterpreted. People confuse list box with combo boxes over there. Now you know that it's a difference between the two, a solid difference. I've walked you through the differences over here. And also, if you do need to use the list box for editing purposes and still display all the selected items, I've shown you the workaround. And the workaround is the gallery over there, and now you can save everything, and it works it works exactly the same, but only you and I know that it's not really a list box which you're using for editing. It actually is a gallery. So as always, keep power apping.